We work hard to keep our homes, and we expect to have the right to protect them. But if an intruder enters your property, what are your rights then?
Under English law, a person is entitled to defend themselves, another person or their property by using reasonable force. What is important is what amounts to reasonable force, and that is often under debate. At the present time, reasonable force is said to be what is proportionate in the circumstances of a case-by-case basis, and what are the set of circumstances that you find yourself facing.
The union's advice to our members at all times is that if they find themselves in a situation where they're faced with an intruder in the home, their first priority should be to defend themselves, their family and their property, and not to take the law into their own hands. If you do intend to tackle the intruder and you use disproportionate force to do that, you could then find yourselves in a situation where you're subject to prosecution and possible criminal charges.
Excessive force in this particular situation regarding an intruder would be, for example, if you were no longer under threat. You can only act in self-defence if you are under threat or there is about to be an imminent attack on you. So if you did chase an intruder from your property, arguably that you're no longer under attack, and that's often generally suggested to be more of a retaliation rather than acting in self-defence. As many people will be aware, there has been quite a high-profile case of Munir Hussain, who did chase an intruder from his property and found himself at court because of using a cricket bat against that intruder. So arguably, if the person has left your property, if you chase after them and use any force, that could arguably be excessive force.
And it's not just criminal prosecution that you may face should you have been deemed to have used unreasonable force. There is always the prospect that you may be seriously injured yourself.
My advice would be if someone was brandishing a weapon against you, initially to try and protect yourself. Obviously, the most important thing to do would be, if possible, to dial 999 and try and wait for the assistance of the police.
If you do find yourself in the unfortunate position of being confronted with an intruder, you should always put the safety of yourself and your family first. Do not use force unless you are in immediate danger, and wherever possible, report the matter to the police as soon as you can.
Please, I'd like to report an intruder.
If you find yourself arrested on suspicion of an offence, and especially in this case, which we've been dealing with, that of an assault on an intruder, then if you are arrested or are asked to attend the police station, you should either contact your own solicitor or contact CWU headquarters, who would be able to put you in contact with the most relevant firm. At Edwards Duthie's Solicitors, we have a 24-hour hotline and are always on call to take any calls for people who are arrested, and would then be able to provide representation at the police station. It should be noted that when you're at the police station, anyone is entitled to free and independent legal advice.
The recent high-profile cases that have been highlighted in the media are very rare incidents indeed. However, if our members do find themselves in a situation whereby they are facing potential criminal charges, they could either contact CWU headquarters for assistance, or alternatively they can ring a number of our solicitors who have dedicated 24-hour criminal helplines, the details of which we publish on our website.
So let's recap. The law states that if you are faced with an intruder in your home, you may use reasonable force to protect yourself, your family and your property. But it must be proportionate to the specific circumstances that you are facing. You may take preemptive strike if you honestly believe that the circumstances demand it. However, you should not use force over and above that which is necessary to protect yourself. The law does not protect you if you retaliate against an intruder. You should only act if you are in immediate danger. Do not pursue an intruder outside of your home. Never risk physical harm to yourself or your family. As long as you act instinctively and in good faith, you are unlikely to face criminal prosecution. However, wherever possible, you should dial 999 and await the assistance of the police. For more information, please visit the CWU Legal Services page on the CWU website or call the free helpline on 0800 804 6674. CWU Legal Services, for all your legal needs.